Are you feeling lost in a digital wilderness? Welcome to Lost in Siberia. We are your guide to navigating the world of cyberspace.
So whether you're a tech enthusiast or you're looking to land your first job in InfoSec, we're here to break things down into bite-sized pieces so that you don't have to. Welcome back to another episode of Lost in Siberia. We're your hosts, Annie-Mei
And Anika.
and today we've got a special guest on the show. We have Rodman Ramezanian. So welcome to the show, Rodman.
Thanks so much for having me.
No worries. I have been wanting to ask this. I keep thinking, I need to ask him every time I see you, but I always forget. Does your name have anything to do with that famous NBA player?
No, so everyone says this, and it's funny because when Dennis Rodman, for those of you wondering, when Dennis Rodman was a basketball player, it wasn't such an unusual association. Everyone's like, oh, he's cool, like he plays for the Chicago Bulls and blah, blah, blah. But then when you work in cyber and said player now hangs out with North Korea and it's a bit of a dicey subject. Yeah. So, but no, he has no connection to that at all. It's just a funny coincidence.
Yeah.
I don't know how my parents landed on that name, but I mean, it's a little bit more memorable for maybe the questionable reasons. But anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I've always just wondered. What
Yeah.
does it do with the basketball player?
No, to most people it's Rod these days anyway. It's just easier to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always get, did you mean Rodney, Robert? And I was like, let's just go with Rod.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. So we'll just do a quick intro. So.
Yeah.
So Rodman has over 14 years of experience in cybersecurity. He worked closely with public sector, federal, defence and enterprise organisations across Australia and New Zealand, helping them navigate the ever-evolving landscape of cloud security and cyber threats. Rodman also serves as the Director of Events and Professional Development for ISACA Canberra, where he helps shape engaging community events, offers mentoring and provides technical advisory support to both students and professionals across the region. A passionate communicator, Rodman loves breaking down complex cybersecurity topics into plain, digestible language, making them accessible to everyone, from newcomers to seasoned pros. He thrives on collaboration, enjoys mentoring others, and is most energized when sharing knowledge and insights with live audiences. Outside of work, he's a self-proclaimed extrovert and enjoys staying active, watching and playing sport, and expressing his creativity as a DJ and music producer. Whether in the office, at an event, or on stage, Rodman brings energy, curiosity, and a genuine love of connecting with people.
Yes.
Cool.
Wow.
That was too long. I should have cut that down.
Oh, that's so impressive. Such a well-rounded person.
Oh, I mean, I think I'm definitely multi-pronged, let's say. I've just come from different sort of contexts and backgrounds. And it's cool to, as you guys know, working in cyber, you meet so many different people, different skill sets and experiences. And I don't know, I love this kind of work where you can actually go out and meet people and form those connections. I don't know, I enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's quite rare for people to be extroverted in cyber as well. So it's quite nice to, I guess, hear that you also have you're a multi-dimensional person.
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having that interest, especially DJing and stuff. We should definitely go into as well. So I know that when you were at university, or correct me if I'm wrong, you worked at the Apple store.
Yes.
As an iOS specialist.
Correct, yeah.
So I think that's really interesting because I think a lot of people who are studying, especially say IT or software development or cybersecurity, they are really trying to get their foot in the door and try and get a part-time job while they're doing their studies. So how did you go about getting that type of job?
So I had friends at the time working at Apple. This is back when I was in Sydney, by the way. So a few friends were working there at the George Street store and other places. And they always had a cool vibe about working at Apple because, it's Apple. They get to work with cool tech. And when the latest iPhone came out, it was the biggest thing ever. So naturally, there was always this gravitation towards, you're working for a cool brand. Or if there's an opportunity to work for such a massive brand, that could do wonders on your CV, right? And that was, in contrast to so many of my friends had part-time retail jobs. And it wasn't to cast any sort of bad light on those kind of things. But I just thought, look, to work with tech, I was always a bit of a geek as well. You tinker with this kind of stuff. Like you guys would know, you become sort of the pseudo IT guy, the tech guy in the family. So just naturally tinkering with this thing was interesting to me. But with Apple as well, I always thought about, there'd be so many opportunities there just to learn and meet sort of cool people, because I'd gone to like many social events that, again, my friends working in Apple would invite me to, and they always looked like such a good bunch. It never really stood out to me as oh, you're gonna crush it in sales and make commissions. And I was just in university. At that point, I was kind of like, I just want a job that interests me and doesn't take me too much away from like, uni. I don't want to flunk any subjects, obviously. So that's like, I kind of applied and got it, but it was such a cool experience because, again, like it was all about the people and the framework that they put in. Like, I got to hand it to them. There's stuff that you pick up at Apple, which I'm sure most companies sort of, establish with you as well, that you carry on to like the corporate settings. It's like just how to sort of get permission and position certain things, or how to if you don't know an answer, it's okay. Like Apple kind of drilled that into you. They're like, look, you don't have to know everything about the new MacBook or an iOS feature or the new iPhone or like Final Cut Pro. Like it was always just cool, it's okay to not know. Let's go on that sort of journey together and learn it. And it's funny, like it's so analogous to like what we do in our jobs, where it's like, I think a lot of us have a tendency to be like, oh yeah, if I don't know everything, I'm just going to like fill in the blanks, or just, I don't want there to be awkward silence. They're just going to say things for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And you know how it goes. Like you lose a lot of credibility when you just don't know what you're talking about, and people can tell, right? So Apple set these foundations really nicely, where I was like, geez, like even if the pay wasn't amazing and all right, cool, you get to work for a cool brand, like I said, it still was an awesome place to just turn up when everyone was usually like really happy, and just it's a nice welcoming environment to be in.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Were you already an Apple fan before you started working there, or?
Yeah, but not like crazy fanboy. Not like one of those what do they call them? Like sheeples, like the people who just kind of follow the Apple stuff blindly. And I wasn't like one of those, like.
I mean, like a diehard like
Nah.
Steve Jobs fan or something.
Yeah, I didn't have like posters of iPhones and iPods in my room. Like it wasn't like that. It was.
I didn't have posters, but I definitely had a lot of iPods. And my first computer was a strawberry iMac when I was 7 years old. Yeah, my dad got it for me as my birthday present, which I was very excited about.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. Yeah, I mean, like I always, as a kid, went to like Windows and everything was, I didn't really get into Mac or any of that really. It was when the first iPhone came out. It was like an atom bomb. Everyone was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing. If you guys remember, I think it was like the iPhone 3G or something. And then 3GS, and then 4, and iPhone 4S, and 5, and they went up by S increments.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember this.
Yeah. It's a huge craze. Like, the world would stop when they would announce a new phone, and, like, remember the queues?
It'd be like, when I lived in China in 2014. Yeah, it was after I graduated from uni.
Yeah.
And even in China, like, when the iPhone would come out, like, I've never seen lines like that before. It was crazy. Yeah.
It's nuts. So it was just... the buzz around it naturally kind of pulls you in anyway, right? Like there's like this sort of gravitational force of, oh my God, everyone wants to have an Apple product. There's always this cool thing about like, the iPods were multicolored and, when they brought out the track wheel, it was such a big, marvel of just, deal, But I think naturally there was always that fascination with, like they make good stuff. Like, and there's always this really polished thing about Apple. Like you go into an Apple store, like all the walls, all the merchandising and how everything's set out, all the tables and how everything's...
It's very clean.
Very.
The aesthetic is, definitely on point. Yeah.
Believe me, like I like having worked there, I can tell you, like when there was hey guys, we've got a new iPhone launch or an iPad launch, how meticulous they are with branding and where everything goes and how everything's to be laid out, and it's next level.
They have like that cool factor that's really hard for a lot of companies to have, I think. For like Nike, for example, has it in fitness, where Apple has it in tech.
Correct.
I think even though Microsoft is still a massive company, Microsoft never been seen as like as cool as Apple.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like exactly to your point. It's a good example. If you remember, like Pitt Street in Sydney, there is a Microsoft store. It really has never had the same aura as an Apple store. Like the George Street Apple store is like their flagship store. It's a 3-story, like humongous building. It's like, that's always been, like when you think Apple store, you think, wow, like that is a beautiful building and whatever. But then like the Microsoft store, like you said, it's never had that swag about it, like that, kind of cool factor. But I think the other thing too, though, Apple really did an awesome job of this, where there was never like a quota or like a sales target. And what that meant was, how that sort of translates to you as someone working in the store is, there is no driving sort of pressure to like make a sale or like to
that's
really,
really interesting.
do you know what I mean? So you're really focusing on customer experience and solving their problems, their challenges. There is no
Yeah.
onus on you to make a sale, or you could sell just an iPhone case, or you could sell a MacBook and an iPhone and an Apple Care plan and blah, 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 blah. It was never about that. Like you didn't get a pat on the back or an extra, I mean, you did, but you didn't get commissions or extra
You
perks.
didn't have like
for,
monetary incentive
No.
to do it.
exactly. So it kind of took the wrong motives out of it. So you were more driven by just helping people rather than I'm going to, at the cost of like customer experience, I'm going to make a sale, you know? So yeah, I think they did that
That
pretty
is
well.
beautiful. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is so rare.
Yeah.
Rare, right?
It's such a fresh of breath. Breath of fresh air.
Breath of fresh air. No, but I thought the same. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like,
You're like, wow, I don't need to make sales.
right. I mean, like, if you got like a 0 next to your name, I'm sure they'd be asking, okay, well, maybe you're at the Genius Bar, like Genius Bar, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you work in the Genius Bar?
At times.
Okay.
At times, if there was like, because I was kind of getting, you know, skilled up to do things like as far as iOS troubleshooting goes. But again, like, unless you're working at the tills, if the POS system is logged in, you know, they use like Macs and everything, right? Or like even
It'd be weird if they didn't use
right,
Macs.
exactly. But even like the
Apple
little,
Store.
you've been to an Apple store, they've got those Easy Pay system, the
Oh,
FPOS little,
yeah.
right? If you're logged in or you're operating tills, naturally you're going to have like 50, 60,000, however many thousands of dollars of purchases because you're just scanning, scanning. But you could be on $0 working at the Genius Bar. You could be one of those trainers. They're like elderly people walk in and you teach them how to use an iPad and, you know, you don't really do sales in that. You're just a good person, a good communicator. People come in and they get trained. Like kids would come in and they work on projects where it's like, hey, you're going to use iPhones and film things, and then you're going to put it in Final Cut Pro and you're going to export it to a video. And then your parents come in like show and tell and they show you this awesome video they made. So it was really gratifying, like, you know, a way of building a community and getting, of course, Apple benefit because people are getting more and more sort of, I guess, well-versed in their products and they get more comfortable with using their things. But I think there was a really cool ecosystem. They know what they're doing, like, and it obviously shows.
I never had an iPhone or an Apple product in my life.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, maybe I should have.
We've changed your mind.
I feel
See,
like
the whole aesthetic didn't put me in. The releases, the queues. I was like, I'm fine.
yeah,
I'm okay. I'll stick with, you know, other things. I think also because I grew up in an environment, you know, like my parents like ex-Soviet, so they're like America.
no,
You know, and so maybe
But then you use Microsoft, right?
yeah,
Which is also American.
Yeah.
I know, but it's like, you know, so it's like, oh, what are you going to be like swayed by all of the peer pressure? Like if you jump off a building, you know, if everyone jumps off a building,
God,
Yeah.
I hate
Are you gonna
that.
follow-
I hate
yeah.
that. I remember a cop pulled me over once on the road, and I didn't do anything that bad. Okay, so I was merging, I was merging into the main lane, and then everyone was merging before the line had broken because they could see the traffic ahead. So like everyone was merging over to the other lane before the line had broken, and so I also did the same thing.
Yeah.
Then I got caught by the cop, get pulled over the side of the road, and I think this is only like the second time in my life I've ever been pulled over by police. And you know, he comes over and he's like, oh, you know, what do you think, it's okay to break the law or whatever? And I'm like, mate, you saw everyone else doing the exact same thing. Why are you targeting me? And then he was like, oh, so what if everyone drove their car off the cliff? You'd do the same thing. I'm like, no, that's such a different,
of course.
like,
It's
that
such a
makes
different-
no
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
maybe they were selling iPhones at the bottom.
Maybe they were rushing to the Apple store to get
The
the
new iPhone just dropped.
Correct. Yes.
That's the shortcut.
That's it. Yeah, Apple had something to do with this. This episode is not sponsored by Apple. We need to call this out. Yeah.
No, but hearing this is just so beautiful. I admire this. This is just, you just help people that come into the door, like, you know, with technology.
Yeah. And you don't
Okay.
try and make them buy stuff. Yeah.
I gotta say, for that, and again, I had friends who worked at like JB Hi-Fi, and by the way, this is not like a defamation thing. I don't want to like call out brands and get busted, but you know what I mean. Like most retail stores there was a sales target. Like they really want to at least incentivize you to make a sale. Like that's how business works. But Apple was very much like, no, there is no target on your head. We don't care if you make $1,000 or 50 grand. You know, like, I mean, because it would happen some days. It was a launch day. Naturally, you're going to make thousands of dollars in sales. well, it's a good story for Apple, but they don't really care. They want you to like be a good person and drive the good customer experience. And again, like coming back to like why that matters for me personally, like a lot of that stuff you take into different roles and functions in your life, where it's kind of like Apple treating you so well to learn more about what is it that brings you in today. How do we solve the core of your challenge? How do we help you in that journey instead of cool, I can just make a sale or do something like bang and then leave you on your way,
Yeah.
So,
I always
cool.
feel like I've always had a good experience going into the Apple Store too, because
Yeah.
like you said, they're not pushy. And I feel like you can go in and just be like, yeah, I'm just having a browse, and they'll be like, oh yeah, no worries. And when I was in Nashville earlier this year, I went to the Apple Store and tried out the new VR headset.
Oh
Apple Pro.
the Vision.
The Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really cool. And like, the guy was like super nice, explained everything really well. Yeah, it was just like, how did you find it? It was like actually actively like more looking for feedback on, what can they do to improve it and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, what use cases would you use it for kind of thing. Yeah, and I think that's nice, because then you can just be like, oh yeah, well, I'm not interested in buying it now, but maybe one day in the future, maybe when it's like a few iterations into it, I would probably think about it. Yeah.
And considering how much, like I heard you speak about this experience to other people, it makes a lot of sense from their business perspective of why have this tactic to promote their business rather than push you to buy something and drive you away.
Yeah, it's spot on. Spot on.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Do you think this is the reason why you became more passionate about communicating and mentoring and volunteering, and it's about breaking down concepts that are extremely complicated, and we face it a lot in the industry, and we're on a mission as well to do that? Do you think that this experience with Apple is something contributing to?
That's a good question. I've actually never connected the dots between Apple and web, but I reckon you're right. I think that had a big part to play in it, because think about the kind of demographic, the kind of people that walk into Apple stores. You've got 80, 90-year-old, like really elderly members of society. You've got 10-year-olds who've never picked up an iPhone, and you got everything in between. You've got people who are so tech illiterate, or the other extreme. And you've got to be able to communicate on a really standardized language, really. Like you can't, if someone walks in, you're not going to jump straight into like feature X, Y, Z and go deep into settings and blah, blah, blah. Like they'll come to you with a problem or a requirement. It's your job to like understand that and articulate, well, what may suit their needs best, and how you can sort of go on that, sounds corny, but that journey to like help them figure out, oh yeah, well, for that price point, I could do this, but what are your real sort of requirements? We could maybe do this with that instead. I think that was maybe the initial seed, if you will, like of me, and I definitely enjoyed it, that's for sure. But yeah, because Apple is like just such a wide diversity of people and age groups and different skill sets. You kind of have to, like you said, just work on just on the go and be able to tailor it. And I don't know.
Hello. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like,
for those of you listening,
I heard a sound. Yeah.
For anyone listening at home,
Something.
Yes.
This screen has been.
For anyone listening, the screen in the room we're in and just turned on and said hello.
And just said hello. Yeah.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Like we're really interested in your conversation.
Yeah, we want to know more.
It must have.
WebEx was like, tell us more about Apple.
Maybe it's a secret word that activated
right?
it.
I feel like if an Apple logo showed up, I'd be really terrified. Because it's just like,
somebody from JB Hi-Fi.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to know also your journey into moving into pre-sales.
Yeah.
Because I think like also a lot of people, when they think about moving into cybersecurity as a career path, that's not something they would think about as a job, because they don't think about the more sales type roles. They would think more about penetration testing or GRC or
they don't think about business at all. I think.
No,
think
the business part isn't really thought about.
In my uni, I know not many.
Yeah.
I don't know any actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get into that type of role, and what kind of experience from your previous jobs do you think helped you get into that type of work?
I went from university so I got the graduate role at IBM. So through the grad program, I went to IBM, and like most places, they have a rotation system where it's like you do 6 months in one role and they rotate you and expose you to different things. And then at the end of that 1 year, you decide where you want to go towards. And I always had a bit of a knack for security. So I got put into a security team, and that was one of my rotations as well. And I loved it. but the team I ended up in was like far from any sort of extroverted, customer-facing, external kind of role like that. It was very much you're patching load balancers and raising tickets, and there were AV definitions. You were updating, endpoints for a lot of. Like,
AV is
antivirus,
Yeah.
antivirus, but
yes.
correct. Sorry, yeah, but
That's okay.
antivirus and they were like big customers in government and like the big banks and so on. So like it was a very important role, but it wasn't something that I was like, oh my god, this is really riveting stuff. And I found a mentor because IBM is obviously huge, and through the internal employee directory, I found myself a mentor. And just by coincidence, we were in the same office in Sydney, in the IBM office, and I just started talking to him. I was like, hey, like, how do I get into more of the things you do? Like, how did you like all these?
And what was their role?
So he was in security, but he wasn't pre-sales either. He was like a security manager or an executive at some point. So he wasn't even like, I didn't even pick him because I thought, oh, that's where I want to go. I just thought this guy has a lot of letters at the end of his name.
When you found him in the directory, did you pick a random person and
no, so no, so I sort of just boxed.
Are you looking for a mentor?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I was putting photos on the walls. Yeah, one of those little, take a little leaflet. Yeah, the paper thing. Yeah,
yeah, with your phone number.
With a garage sale. Yeah, it's. Oh my gosh.
It's like a montage of you crossing off their names, being like discouraged.
Just standing at the front, the entry gates, and just handing out pamphlets. No, but it was fun. A good question, because I didn't know what I was looking for. I sort of filtered it by, ideally someone in this office, because like I don't know, I feel like talking to someone in the IBM office in like Middle East or the US would have been a bit challenging. So I found someone in the office. I filtered down by that. And then I knew security was sort of what I was most interested in. So I started just filtering down, and I found this guy with, 16 or 18 letters at the end of his name. And these were all certifications. I'm like, all right, this guy obviously looks like he's been around, looks like he's quite successful. So I reached out to him just cold, and I'm like, hey, would you have you ever considered being a mentor? And at first, like, he shut me down. He said, no, look, I'm sorry. I'm just really focused on my gig. I wish you all the best. I'm just not interested in, it's not my thing.
Oh.
I was pretty deflated, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I was like, geez, I never ever asked anyone like cold out of the blue mentor me. I don't know you from Brian.
It's almost like going on a date with someone and like, oh, do you want to go on a date? Actually, no,
I'm not interested. Yeah, I'm not interested.
I'm having fun by myself.
Right, exactly. I was
actually focusing on me right now.
Exactly. Yeah, I need to love me first. Kind of. It was. Oh my god. Yeah. But my first thing was like, man, what have I done wrong? Like, I mean, I'm like fresh out of the grad year. I'm a permie now. Like, I was permanent, but you know what I mean. Like, out of the grad role, and I found this guy, and I was like full building up the courage and the confidence and messaging.
So crushed.
I was pretty crushed. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But then, like 48 hours later, he messaged back, and he goes, "I'm actually sorry. I've had time to think about it." Yeah,
it's really random. Yeah.
Random.
Why do you have such a change of heart?
I know.
It's a soul journey.
I don't know.
After your montage, we see your mentor going and thinking at the ocean. And
So,
what am I doing with my life?
He saw me singing in the car park. Yeah,
he was walking along the beach at Bondi, and he was like, "Maybe I do want to be a mentor."
Maybe. Yeah, it was a calling. It was just a. It was, or he just saw me in the car park sitting there looking sad. Like, could have been either or. But let's go with the former. That sounds like a better story. But basically, he goes, "Look, all right, change your heart. Let's give it a go. Why not? Let's have a coffee and let's meet." And he basically, let's just say mentoring wasn't his forte.
It doesn't sound like it. Yeah, no, because on the initial message.
Right, because his technique wasn't the best. It was just kind of like, "Do you know this? Why don't you know this? Go learn. Do you know that?" Yeah, he's like legit just...
Get it, come on.
Yeah, just throwing out...
Be better.
Exactly. And this is first time, first time meeting you.
It's just so ridiculous.
Isn't it? I bought this guy a coffee because I was like, let's meet at the cafeteria downstairs. I'll buy you a coffee. And then he's like... And then from that point onwards, I need to bring a notebook and a pen because he's going to throw terms at me and he's just going to be like, "Do you know this? Why don't you know this? Go learn it. Do you know that? Why not? Go learn." I was like... Oh my gosh.
Like how to mentor 101, like the opposite of what not to do.
How to not mentor. Just
how
yell
not
out,
to mentor.
Yell out acronyms. And then
ask them why they don't know them.
Literally. He's like,
anyone knows what ACL is?
Yeah.
ACL, anyone?
It was
why
everything.
Don't you know this?
It was all of them. Yeah, it was all of them. It was ACL. It was
Nat Gateway.
it was everything. It was everything from like DNS and the like SYNAC handshake, everything, just throwing stuff. I'm like, whoa, just settle down, man. But I thought to myself,
what did you study in uni?
like IT. I did bachelor of IT, but it wasn't like security folk. It was like IT and like information systems, database engineering.
Yeah,
it was
so very different acronyms.
Very different.
That you would be familiar
Very
with.
different. Very different. Mine was
that's
all
why
like
I don't know it actually.
exactly.
You're like, mate, you ask me anything about Apple, I know.
Yeah, exactly. Apple or whatever. But there was a lot of exactly. Yeah, it was like I learned like UML and like doing like database stuff and whatever.
It's a very different world. Yeah.
Right.
When it comes to security,
So,
it's very same acronym could mean like 5 million things.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. But I said, look, and the way I got into that stream was, again, I just said in the interviews at IBM, I have a real interest in security. I would love to follow that passion. So again, this guy was just hammering words. And I thought, like, I never thought to myself, oh my God, this guy is like ballistic. I thought, Rod, oh my God, Rod, you're so behind. Like, you need to, gosh, this
I
guy.
can understand why you would have thought that.
Yeah, it was like pretty overwhelming. I was like, geez, like, he's right. Why don't you know these things? So I'd go and cram.
Is that how he said it too? Is he like, why don't you know this?
Yeah, he's like, are you serious?
You're like, mate, you've got 16 years experience. I don't.
Pretty much.
It's like a therapist being like, why can't you sleep?
Yeah.
Why are you having trouble sleeping?
Well, if I knew, I wouldn't be here. It's like, right? Are you serious?
You're like, I thought you would help me answer that.
Totally. No, but he got. It's funny. Like on like the third or fourth meeting, he basically just goes, "Hey Rod, like, have you ever heard of pre-sales?" No, like, is it? I'm guessing it's.
It down.
Yeah, I wrote it down. One of the many
notebook.
pages that I took. But he's
Your
like,
notebook's full.
he's literally. I was just jotting down. I like barely had time to look up, and he goes, "Have you heard of pre-sales?" And I'm like, I assume it's like sales, and at that point, I was already like stereotyping. No. Look, sales is. I'm not. That's not my thing. He's no, listen, like pre-sales, and he explained it all. I never forget. He goes, Rod, if you get yourself into pre-sales, your career is just like that. I'm like, okay, wow. And he pretty much said, look, Rod, you got to get out of here. You seem like a really ambitious young man. I think IBM isn't the place for you. I think for you to, and at that point, IBM was going through some real change. I remember coming to work one day and they're like, yep, we just axed 700 workers in New Zealand. I couldn't get a laptop bag expense. Like it was a really kind of...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so at that point he's like...
At this stage, yes.
Yeah, so he's like, listen, like for everything you want to kind of head towards, you moving internally is going to be tough. I think you need to just get out of here, start listening for offers. And then I had some pre-sales offers from the Symantec's of the world, Trend Micro, McAfee, HP, a few other people, just, stuff like that. And I ended up going for the McAfee gig, and that's what got me into pre-sales. And again, like back to the core of your question, like I still didn't know what in the world pre-sales was because it had sales in the title. I'm like, I don't know if this is my cup of tea. I don't know. I still got to sort of suss this out a little bit. But the more I got into it, I was like, oh my gosh, I did not know this role existed. And if it did, I didn't know this was called pre-sales. Like this is so left field of anything I thought it would be. I thought this was going to be some sales oriented, which it is. Like there is a sales process, but just the ability to like be technical and be hands-on tools and go out and meet people and demo and talk, and it was like the perfect balance of what I ever wanted. And so I was like super fortunate. I was like, oh my gosh, like I got to hand it to, his name was Frank.
So did you apply for those roles because he told you should go for a pre-sales gig?
It wasn't solely because, like obviously I was talking to other people too, but until he said pre-sales, I never would have considered that.
Okay. So you actually can be, somewhat grateful to him for
totally
leading you down this path.
Yeah. It's funnily enough, I bumped into him last year. It was like a talking slot, like an in-person sort of roadshow kind of series. We were talking in person, and he came along, and he's like, "Oh my God, I'm so proud of you." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you don't understand. Like this is a huge blast from the past. You've been instrumental to everything I've done." It was a nice moment to thank him for everything. But yeah, like I think to your point, a lot of it would come back to the big pep talks I got from him about like, dude, you should be going there. And I never knew what was in store to follow that stream. So,
wow, that's quite the turnaround.
I know.
This mentor story is crazy.
Yeah, I feel bad now.
Yeah.
It's like, so Frank seems to be very frank with you.
Yeah. Oh, but we'll have to put it.
Couldn't resist.
Put it. Yeah.
I'm sitting on it like, right
off the cuff. She's here all week, folks. That was awesome.
We'll get your stand-up gig.
Yeah, smooth delivery, Anika. Well done.
So much. No, but I mean it. Like he seems just very kind of honest type of person, kind of like no bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Straightforward, no nonsense. It's like, what are you doing here? Go to pre-sales. You're perfect for that.
Totally.
Yeah, I can see you. You're good for that. Don't be here.
Yeah.
And you need people like that. You need
I think you're right. I mean, who knows how else it could have played out if you had a very different sort of approach. But it really did sink in. Like everything you said, it sunk in. There was so much pressure I was putting on myself too. To be like, he's right. He's right. Why don't you know these things? Go learn it. Go learn. And so I was just like on this just meteoric sort of mission to just go learn everything, cram everything he threw at me and whatever. And, you know, not like he was going to test me, but it was always like come on, Rod, there's a big delta here. He's calling things out. You have no clue. You need to like do some work. But when he said pre-sales, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'll think about it. And then when offers started coming up, but again, like I think back to your point, I never would have considered it until he told me these things.
Yeah,
So.
that's interesting. Yeah, I feel like even just through this podcast, we've spoken to so many people whose entire trajectory of their career has changed because of one conversation or one job or like one person they've met.
Yeah,
which is like, and I think that's just, it goes to show like how you think you're going to go down one path, but everything could change.
Yeah,
and don't be crushed when something goes wrong. Because, maybe that's not that one thing, or maybe it was.
Yeah,
you know, but it just came back to you 48 hours later.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right.
Absolutely. Yeah, don't get crushed because just continue going and trying. Something's my mom says something is going to shoot.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to happen. If you make enough noise, something's going to happen.
True. True.
So you mentioned that you do demos and you go out and talk to people and all that kind of stuff. Do you want to talk a little bit more about what is pre-sales?
Yeah. I think it is important to talk about it because again, like people in my shoes back then, they have a very different perception of what it is or what it could mean, right? I mean, look, my interpretation of pre-sales is everything, as the name suggests, everything pre-sale. Now, when I say everything, you know, within reason, there are things that, you know, would be handled by a sales manager, an account director, or, you know, like business development leads or, you know, inside sales and whatever. But from pre-sales, from a technical perspective, drives a lot of the customer experience. Everything from understanding their requirements and performing discovery, learning what is it exactly that is it a pain point or a challenge for you? So is there a compelling event? Have you failed an audit? Has there been a breach? Are you exposed somewhere? Getting to the core of that. And I think this is 101 stuff. This is where a lot of people, unfortunately, still in this day and age, and we all know people like this, unfortunately, where they don't spend enough time in that phase of like, you know, discovering, learning about their requirements
or doing that kind of gap analysis.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's funny. I always come back to this one like phrase. It's always like God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And I think like that at the very sort of onset, just being able to listen and discover and seek in info rather than just talk. And that's where a lot of people unfortunately get caught up in, where they'll just turn up and they'll just be, for lack of a better term, a demo monkey. Hey, I've got this cool, you know, it's like, hey, I've got this cool new widget to like this, or this sexy, shiny new console to show you. Let's just jump into it. It's like, cool. If you spend enough time actually hearing the customer out, what are their pain points?
Yeah, is this actually relevant to their pain point? Yeah, do they even need this?
Well,
you're going to go through a 30-minute demo and at the end they go, we don't need this.
Exactly. Or better yet, they're like, yeah, cool, I'd love to have something like that in my life, but have you understood, is that thing going to move the needle for them? Is that really going to drastically improve things for them? Or is it like, yeah, it's a nice to have, but, you know, we're still,
it's not a necessity.
It's not a necessity.
And if you're looking at government, is your product actually aligned with government regulation? Or, you know, can government even use this product?
Correct.
And with future regulations that are about to come up. Because a lot of decision makers that you would talk to, sometimes they're not necessarily very technical. And even if they are very technical, they may not be specifically working in that area. They're just there to like make a decision and more like business people. So sometimes it can be like people that don't really listen to people that don't really understand.
Correct.
So, and then down the line, you haven't really fixed anything. Right?
It's so true. But that's in a nutshell, like obviously where pre-sales, I reckon, is one of the most fundamental principles is like the discovery and the learning and gathering the requirements, understanding their pain points. And then obviously it's your job to like, you know, again, guide them on that journey towards, okay, well, what would a solution look like for you guys? Like tailoring a solution to them. And, you know, through that process, it could be they might want a live demo. They might want to like actually play with it, have a proof of value, and get hands-on tools and deploy it and break it, fix it. Then you go through like success criteria. So there's all these intricacies to doing it. But in a nutshell, it's basically before sale, pre-sale, as they say. It's like guiding them through that journey from a technical perspective. And there's so many like different, I don't know, like methodologies and approaches and schools of thought on where pre-sales should come in and then should butt out. How much should they own of like the customer journey? But I don't know, I've always loved it because it's given me such an awesome balance, like I said before, with like talking to people, like forming those relationships and those connections and still being technical. You still get to tinker with tools and get, deep in the consoles and play and build with stuff. And you get to get out and about and talk and write blogs. And, there's obviously stuff I do that, not to like toot my own horn, but I do things that, would be extracurricular. But I don't know, I feel like pre-sales has given me that awesome platform to build off and like build a brand, build a profile. So it's funny, I talk to so many, like when I talk to students, like through mentoring or whatever, I don't always just tell them, oh, pre-sales. But if there's ever an interest in like doing this kind of stuff, I always sort of make sure I tell them like the kind of opportunities that come with these sorts of things.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I feel like I don't know if you remember this, but you gave a demo to my team when I worked at Ubi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
correct.
I think that was before I'd actually met you in person. But I remember when I think I saw you later at an ISACA event, I was like, oh, I think that's the guy from the demo.
Well, what's funny, like, and you guys would know this. I mean, how long have you been in Canberra now?
4 years in July.
4. Wow. Okay.
Crazy.
Jeez. No, well, 9 years for me, and
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
9 winters.
So I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's hard yards, but
that's how you count it.
No, no.
By the winters.
It's the winters, exactly, and each gets worse. But I feel like it, especially nowhere else is it truer than Canberra, where it's such a small town, such a small industry, that it's like, to your point, if that demo experience is really poor, or like you had someone come in once upon a time and they just were not great at presenting, or they just didn't understand your requirements, or they did not the best job. I feel like Canberra is a very quick and easy place to like reverberate these kind of things.
Yeah,
so.
Everyone knows each other. It's a very small town.
Yeah.
Which has its perks and its downsides.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
But going back to what you were saying before, you were saying that that's been able to build your brand, and I think that's a big thing that I think a lot of people struggle with as well, especially in cyber, because there are a lot of fairly introverted people. And I think there was an article that you wrote for Dark Reading. I saw there was a Taylor Swift reference in there. I remember.
Yeah. I'm trying to think which one it was now, but
It was something to do with a report that some big company had written. You said that in the report that they had said that they were in their vulnerability era.
Oh yes, yeah, something like it was about the eras to the tour, and that's right. I made some kind of oh my god. This was all. It was quite timely as well, because obviously like Taylor Swift was touring at that point.
Yeah,
and
I went to her concert.
Oh yeah, okay, nice.
Big
yeah.
Swiftie.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, you would have definitely appreciated that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what caught my eye. I was like, oh, Taylor Swift reference in the first paragraph.
Nice. Okay, well there you go. You're welcome.
That's how you get an audience.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just attach yourself to someone very successful
Yeah.
and ride the way.
Yeah, I'm interested.
That's exactly what I meant.
Yeah, that's what she meant.
Yeah, I'm interested in that because, like, you obviously DJ, you do this stuff outside of work, which I think is really cool because, like, we also talk about how, it's so important to have interests outside of cybersecurity and just outside of work in general. But, how do you feel like that? Obviously, DJing is such a social hobby. It's such a different environment to, I can imagine, doing a demo for a
little bit,
for an organisation.
Just a tad. There's no blaring music and there's no drunks around you. Bouncers and like dress codes.
But how do you find that like your DJing helps with your career?
So I said this once in a job interview, and I kid you not, like the guy's words verbatim, like the hiring manager was like, I think that's the best thing I've ever heard in an interview. And I was like, okay, I should probably remember this then. But basically...
Notebook?
Yeah.
Not for him this time.
Yeah. No, it was pretty much... Because I got asked this, like a lot of people asked this, hey, like, what are you doing on the side? Like your hobbies, what are your interests? And then the typical next question is, oh, how do you think these things have like applied or made you a better professional? How do you think there's been crossover or blah, blah, blah? And I think with DJing, there's so many parallels I could make to pre-sales. And I'll give you a couple. Like one is, as a DJ, you need to really know your music. Like you need to understand your music. You need to know your keys filtered by key, by tempo, BPM, artist, subgenres, whatever. Same way that for a demo, you need to really know your stuff. You need to like just tailor your craft, your presentation style, your content. You really need to know it. You don't just wing it. You don't turn up with like, same way a DJ wouldn't show up with a USB stick and not know what it is they're going to play. They've got an idea of the flow and the kind of journey they want to take people on. Same way as a pre-sales, engineer would, but also like the ability to read an audience. So DJ, like it's all eyes on you. It's literally unless you're a duo or a trio or whatever.
But everyone's staring at the DJ
right.
when they're dancing, right? They're not looking elsewhere.
You are literally the life of the party. Like if you stuff up, that party is going to suffer. That room is going to suffer in some sense. Same way with pre-sales, like it's all eyes on you. Everyone's paying attention to you. So naturally, I lost pretty much all my stage fright because I've been in those situations so much. And sometimes you do stuff up, like, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Sometimes every DJ's done this. Gosh, like they'll accidentally hit the pause button or the cue button, and the track will stop, go to the beginning, or it'll skip next, or it'll hop 8 bars, and everyone's like, "What the hell just happened?" Like, so these things happen, but you got to go with the flow. You got to be versatile, agile. You got to just work, roll with the punches.
Improvise.
Right, improvise. But I think the other thing too is just the ability to like work with what you've got. Like, and again, thinking quick, right? As a DJ, I could play a song and the audience just goes flat, and I'm like, okay, they didn't like that one. Cool. I need to be able to improvise. Just go with the flow. All right, cool. I've got another track I could try. Same way with pre-sales. Like if what you're presenting, you're kind of getting different body language. You need to be able to tailor that message. You can't just go in with a pre-canned or a pre-recorded set. If you play the analogy, you can't. You need to work very agile. And the same way with DJs. Like you don't show up 5 minutes before your set, and when it's done, I'm out, guys. See you later. With pre-sales too, you got to get there early. You got to mingle, form relationships, get to know people. Afterwards, you got to network. You got to build your brand. So there's so many. I could go all night, but like there are all these analogies where I think definitely being a DJ, being immersed in these kind of scenarios has been like a big game changer for me, if you will. Like it's been massive, and I love both so much. I still DJ when I can, like when time permits. But it's such a cool like hobby. I always enjoy it. I always love just getting out and about, and I've actually made so many friends from cyber that have crossed over to that world and vice versa.
Oh, right.
Heaps.
Yeah.
And Canberra's again like DJing even in Canberra sometimes if I accept the odd gig here and there.
It's a very small world too.
Right. I do you know how many people have been like, hey man, killer set. I love that track you played. I was trying to Shazam it and whatever. And we start talking, and it turns out he's a SQL engineer at like this big SI that we worked with. And I was like, oh my gosh, we were like working on the same account. Like it's crazy. Like it might not be cyber to cyber, but these are all guys in tech. The guys that you kind of adjacent to what you do anyway.
I think in DJing as well, it's such a, like in terms of performing arts, I think this is such a beautiful cyber thing to do.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to say much.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
But your tool speaks for you. You're the professional of that tool. And yet you are connecting with the people through that tool.
Very true.
And it's such a beautiful representation of like how would a cyber person do performing arts.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, absolutely. I feel like for me, like through improv, I've met so many software developers.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know why all the software developers in Canberra are like, I'm going to go and do improv.
Wow.
And absolutely, as you said, so not necessarily maybe cyber, but cyber adjacent or like technology. Yeah, it's how you meet people in such a better, natural way to do that
definitely.
rather than,
and also music is such a good way to bring people together as well. I remember I was flying to Perth, I think, but I had to go via Sydney, and I got on the plane in Canberra, and I was wearing my Taylor Swift like Eras Tour jumper, and there was a girl when I sat down, she turned to me, because I think it was the day that the Tortured Poets Department album came out, and she like turned to me, she was like, Happy Tortured Poets Department Day. And I was like, oh, you were a
Jeez.
big Taylor Swift fan. And she was like, yeah, I went to 3 of her concerts when she came to Australia. I was like, how did you even manage to get tickets for a start? But yeah, but then we literally spent the first half of the flight chatting. And then I found out that she was actually in Canberra for work and she works in cybersecurity. And I was like, what are the odds?
There you go. See, that's nuts. That's nuts. But yeah, see what I mean? Like, I had a similar thing. So in 2020, I DJ'd at DEFCON Las Vegas.
Yes, I know. I was actually gonna lead into that. I want to know. Yeah, talk to us about DEFCON.
Well, it was funny how that happened, but like, it was a combination of me submitting like a demo and like whatever, and they liked it, but also
when you say demo, this time you're talking the music
mixtape.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, it's good. Yeah, we do need to
demo
distinguish. You're very true. Yeah, we need to distinguish
just so there's no confusion.
The lines are blurred right now. You're right. That's so true. Sorry for everyone. Yeah, so a music demo, like a mixtape, as they whatever. But they liked that, so I got accepted for the gig. But then I was also volunteering for like the security team, and security was a combination of you could do like eyes on glass, kind of looking at consoles.
Oh, so you're not talking about physical security.
Well, both. It ended up being both. So it was so it was basically like in their SOC, everything from the Wi-Fi's getting popped to and there was a lot of them, stuff like this, to like physical security, to like ushering people to find the right room, and in exchange for that, you got a free conference ticket.
That's amazing.
Which is awesome. Yeah, like I got to do my DJ stuff, which I love. Got to meet cool people. Got to visit some really awesome sessions. It was such an amazing experience. But similar to your point, on the flight over to Las Vegas, I was like, there must be heaps of people on this flight. Yeah. Maybe not doing what I'm doing, like volunteering and DJing, but
still heading to the same event.
For the conference.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like you kind of like look around and start just typecasting people a little bit, like just judging. Like we all do it. And I was like,
I did the same thing.
I was looking for hoodies. I was looking for like piercings and tats or whatever. And I was like, it's funny, like it's waiting in line for the bathroom, and this dude strikes up a conversation, and he looked nothing like who I would have expected. He was actually a cyber journo.
Oh,
so we start talking this and that, and then we kind of get into the what's taking you to DEFCON your first time, and he was obviously like, no, he's done it many years. For me, I was like, yeah, first time, I'm psyched, all this stuff. And then we start talking about music because I said I'm DJing there, and then turns out we listen to the same podcasts, and it's cool. It's crazy. Like, I mean, he wasn't based in Canberra. I went Canberra, Sydney, and out, but still, like, it's such a small scene. Like, we connected later on LinkedIn and whatever. So it's cool how this, like you said, brings people together like that.
Yeah, and there are some really cool DJ events at DEFCON. Like I went to one of the after parties that they had last year, which was hosted by Jack Resider from Darknet Diaries. So he was at the after party.
That's so cool.
And he had given the control of his Twitter account over to the other hosts of the after party. And so anyone was able to like log into his account and just post from his account. So there was this live, I think that is like a screen up. It was like a live feed of tweets that were coming from his account.
That's so
And so
cool.
you can imagine, like, as the night wore on, it just got more and more like horrendous.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the stuff you can do over there. Like, it's such a cool experience. Hey?
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it is terrifying.
Do you know about the wall of shame? All the phones that get popped basically by joining rogue Wi-Fi hotspots.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? It was just like DEFCON
that makes sense.
Free Wi-Fi, DEFCON Wi-Fi free, DEFCON free, DEFCON, and it's just every permutation and combination of like naming conventions.
Did you take your phone?
I took a burner.
Oh, okay.
So I had my like old Samsung Galaxy S5 or something.
Not an Apple.
No, never. Never. No, but I was like, I'm going to buy a SIM over there, like prepaid. This phone is going to be like, I know it's going to get absolutely, rooted over there. So I took this old Galaxy I had, and I mean, it did the job, but I was like, I didn't even want to know how many times it's been popped. Like, because there were guys walking around with like antennas poking out of their backpacks and stuff. I was like, man, it's
a wild place.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing. Like, I get it. It's a very like that hacker culture as well.
Yeah.
And it's like
they really embrace it.
Yeah.
It's like,
of course. I mean, it is a hackers event. Yeah. It's just very interesting. I feel like trying to like combine my view of like trying to not blame like victims and then combining like the fun of the thing where it's like it's not serious.
No.
This is not like, we're not actually like laughing at you or like, that you're a noob, your phone got popped or whatever.
Yeah.
This is very different, and like trying to explain it in this kind of
Yeah.
language.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
Where
exactly.
this is being done, like this is tough love, right? This is being done to like educate and teach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah. I think even that's the wall of shame was like, I think less to poke fun at people. I mean, you don't know what someone's phone name is and like, you don't even know who the person is, but it was more of just bringing awareness to the fact that like, guys, maybe you shouldn't join free Wi-Fi. It was so bad. It was really bad.
DEFCON, definitely free Wi-Fi.
Right.
Choose this
all
one.
of them. Yeah, there was all of them. It was like, yeah, it was whatever. We were in like the Mirage, like the Mirage Hotel free Wi-Fi, DEFCON free, DEFCON members only, DEFCON participants only. Oh, it's just like, oh my god. Yeah,
okay, so I know we are running out of time.
Sure.
So one area that I do want to touch on because I think it's quite a big area, and I think it'd be interesting for a lot of people who might be maybe a bit further along in their careers and are thinking about joining a board of directors.
Yeah.
And you are on the board for ISACA, which I don't know what ISACA stands for, Information Security.
Don't quote me, I'm terrible with acronyms. But it is to do with like basically assurance and accreditation. It's a global community of like GRC, audit, cybersecurity practitioners, and I can't remember what it stands for.
Yeah, not to be confused, because I think every time I say Osaka to someone who's never heard it before, they think, oh, like the Japanese city. And I'm like, no, it's not Osaka.
Yeah, touche.
It's Osaka.
Touche, yeah, fair.
Can you talk about how you went about getting onto the board, and maybe even explaining like what does a board do?
So, good question. Naturally, a lot of us get job offers and you always think ahead, what can I aspire to move into kind of roles? And a lot of roles, they're always expecting like a Swiss Army knife. Like they just want an absolute unicorn who can program and has been a VP and has 15 years experience, and you know how it is, right? And one thing that I was never able to like tick, or even at least have a compelling way of saying, oh yes, but I can do this instead, was management experience, like team leader. And I personally, like at this stage of my career, my life, everything, I haven't had aspirations to be a people manager. I'm very much not an individual contributor. Like I love being a team player, and I always am, but not everyone wants to be a team leader or have people reporting into them, right?
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And so for me, it was like, okay, cool. Well, how do I tick that? How do I demonstrate I have some relatable experience so they can at least, and I thought, okay, well, I like going to events. I like going to like gatherings, and that's how I got my foot in the door when I moved to Canberra. That's how I made so many friends and connections. I would go along to like community nights and security gatherings and whatever. And so ISACA, I went to quite a lot of their events, and I knew that I was talking to a few people who had been board members in the past, and they have committees, subcommittees, volunteers, people who help drive everything from monthly events to finding sponsors, people who have compelling things to talk about. They help with marketing. There's a lot of things that they can do. And so naturally I thought, okay, if I could associate myself with a respected like brand, a community that's globally renowned and known, and at least help in that capacity. And I didn't think I was going to become straight to a board leader, but helping drive a team or help shape and point them in the right direction, like help encourage them to do these kinds of things. So I applied, and I basically told them, look, I don't have team leader experience or any of this kind of stuff. Have I like mentored people? Have I like guided them and coached them in professional settings? Of course I have, but I haven't formally been a team leader. And so they obviously took a leap of faith on me. But what I do there now is, I'm the director of events and professional development. So events like monthly events that we do at the Duxton or at the Hellenic Club in the city. And that's like sponsored by, vendors, sponsors, anyone who has something compelling to talk about that fits the ISACA, like one of the subdomains. But then also like professional development, driving engagements with ANU, CIT, University of Canberra, ADFA, getting academia involved and helping students out and mentoring them. And so I love that side of it because it's rewarding and it's doing something that I've always loved anyway. As we said, like mentoring people, helping, getting out there and meeting people. That it also meant that I could associate myself with a really respected brand, meet lots of cool people in the process, and guide a team, build a subcommittee, build a team of people who can work with me and help them drive an outcome, which is like, all right, cool, let's get some more partnerships with the unis going. Let's run some events that people actually care about, like that are really topical, not just like a lot of events sometimes are the highest bidder. It's like someone wants to sponsor, they'll throw a wad of cash at you and it's like, well, cool, for the Canberra market, that might not be the most topical thing or the most relevant thing. So a lot of it, you know,
it's got to fit the audience.
Correct. It's going to be topical, relevant. It's going to fit the audience. You know, again, ISACA has a lot of subdomains and areas you want to cater to and have a fair representation of audit, GRC, risk, cyber. So you can't just be like, oh yeah, we've got heaps of vendors who just want to sponsor and put their name on a label on an event and throw a banner up. So it's that kind of stuff, which I applied for it. I told them how sort of passionate I was about all these things. Sure, I didn't have team leader experience, but it really has, I wouldn't say like in isolation, it's opened doors, but it really has helped like build my profile again, where we're saying, I may not want to be a team leader anytime soon. And that shouldn't, in my view, that shouldn't really limit me from doing certain things or applying for certain roles. So that's why doing this kind of thing, yes, it's pro bono. Sure, you didn't get like paid for it and whatever, but it still is an amazing way to build.
A lot of exposure.
Totally.
Yeah.
You meet so many cool, so many awesome people in town. You know, you're exposed to, like you said, different conferences, different speakers, vendors, so many different sort of contexts you put in. And these are things you might not get the opportunity to do in your day job. So
it sounds so cool, you know, that you're on a board.
It does always sound
very impressive.
It does always sound a little bit, it does always sound a little bit of like, you know, pumping up your tires a little bit. It's like, oh, I'm a board advisor. It's like, well,
you drink tea with your pinky up.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Did I tell you I was on a board?
Yeah, exactly. Totally right. But it's it's so true.
No, but it does, you know, it does add to your multidimensional.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, and that was, as corny as it sounds, that was always one of those give back to the community things. Like again,
because like you said, you don't get paid, right? It's a volunteer position.
It totally is.
Like it's completely, you're doing it out of in your own free time.
Yeah. Like in fact, tonight we actually have a board meeting. Like just by coincidence, we have a board meeting tonight. Yeah, like it's a Zoom meeting, but it's just like in your time, like you do what you can to like just offer sort of any spare cycles to help do what they need to do. And again, it's not like so much more work on top of it. You're driving a subcommittee and you got teams and volunteers and people working with you to do this kind of stuff. And like I think it does kind of help in the corporate setting where like we said, many people who consider you for a job would be like, all right, cool. Like you've actually worked in a professional setting where you're leading people, you're guiding them, you're setting a direction, a strategy. That's really what they want to see. Sure, it might not be a board of like this massive venture capital thing where you hold your pinkies up. But you know what I mean, right?
You're probably making a lot of money from being on one of those
right,
boards.
Exactly. But it still is one of those like, all right, cool. Well, you're not just a board member at mum and dad's fish and chip shop. It is a global community of like professionals. You are guiding an agenda and a strategy and a, you know. So,
I mean, ISACA is a globally recognized organization, right? And even though it's a not-for-profit, but it's still a very well-known organisation for cybersecurity people, because a lot of people end up joining it because they are doing a certification through ISACA, right? Yeah, and then they are doing it to get those, is it CPEs?
CPEs,
So there's a lot of reasons why people would want to join, and and it's a lot of work. Well, I haven't been on a board, but like, you know, I've obviously organised a lot of events and stuff in the past, and it's time consuming. Like it really takes a lot, but you also get a lot back, which I think is also why it's so good. Totally.
It is rewarding because like, you've seen it, right? People come to these events that like it's their first time coming to a cyber, or not even cyber, like ISACA is really more than that, but first time coming to one of these events and they're just really overwhelmed, and it's a really vulnerable experience, and it's rewarding to be able to like them feel welcome. And but then you've got people in there who are like old timers, like, you know, they're just so loyal and everything, and they come in there and they tell you about they've been in this part of this chapter for like 30, 40 years, and you're just like, wow, like you learn stuff from that. It's cool. Like I think in a nutshell, it's just kind of the same stuff that I've always been passionate about, which is just getting out there, meeting people, and I don't know, for the greater good, if you will. But it's cool. Like it feels good to like get something back as well, which is, like you said, the profile side of it. It's always cool to be a board director. But I think because they are a respected brand, because there are many well-respected people associated with it, it ticks a lot of boxes. And I enjoy the experience.
Yeah, which I think goes full cycle back to you working at Apple.
Yeah,
you know, the brand, the exposure.
Good way to look back,
people.
Hey? You know, it's so true that like I think I'm still thinking back to like it's such an important thing you guys said. Hey, I've never thought about how much Apple would have played a role in starting all this. But yeah, it's a good point.
Well, I think that's a good place to end it. So
That is.
Thanks so much, Rodman, for coming on our podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. That was really cool. I love the chat.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, thank you everyone as well for tuning in to this episode of Lost in Siberia.
And we will catch you next time.
Bye. Okay,
Awesome.
cool. That was a long chat.
Yeah, that was.
It was over an hour. It wasn't actually that
Okay.
bad.